Want to know a secret? I love bees and honey. Bees pollinate flowers, fruits, and vegetables. Without them, there are a lot of foods we wouldn't have anymore. Honeybees also give us delicious honey. Someday, I want to get my own bees. So I took a trip to the Topeka Zoo to learn more about bees and honey. And of course, I took the infrared camera. I learned a lot. People who take care of bees are called beekeepers. And beekeepers wear special clothes to protect them from stings. Bees are calmer around light colors, so most beekeepers wear a white suit. They wear long pants and a hat. They wear a net to protect their face, and some beekeepers also wear gloves to protect their hands. Honeybees live in hives. A long time ago, hives were basically baskets turned upside down, and they were called skeps. But to get the honey out, the beekeeper would have to kill the bees, and that wasn't a very good thing. So today, most beekeepers use hives made of wooden boxes. The boxes have to be made carefully so they are just the right size and shape. Frames are added to the boxes. These also have to be just the right size and shape. And they need to be the right distance apart. Bees fill the frames with honeycomb. Bees have a special wax-producing gland in their tummies. It helps them change the sugar from honey into wax. And then they chew on it until it becomes soft, and then they add that chewed wax to the honeycomb construction. They build small cups in the honeycomb called cells. They store honey, pollen, and even baby bees in the cells in the honeycomb. Sort of like how you might store your food in a refrigerator. The queen bee lays eggs in special cells in the honeycomb. The queen is the only bee that can lay eggs. After 3 days, the eggs hatch into larvae, which look a bit like small, fat, white worms. Worker bees take care of the larva and feed it. A few days later, worker bees cap the cell with wax. Inside the cell, many changes are happening, and the larva becomes a pupa. It's a little bit like how a caterpillar becomes a butterfly in a cocoon. Then the baby bee hatches and eats through the wax. How long this takes depends on what kind of job the baby bee will have. It takes 24 days for drones. Those are boy bees. It takes 21 days for worker bees. Those are girl bees. And it takes 16 days for a queen. Each hive can only have one queen. All the bees live together in their hive. And most hives have a stand to keep the bees dry, safe, and off the ground. Then there's a floor with a door for the bees to go in and out. This helps keep predators away from the bees. Next, there's a special box where the queen bee lives and lays her eggs. Worker bees take care of baby bees in this box. It's called a brood box. Then there is a box that holds food for the bees. They eat honey and pollen. The boxes on top are called supers. Supers hold all the extra honey. When a beekeeper collects honey, they take it from the supers. After the supers, there's a cover and a lid to keep the hive warm and dry. Sometimes a rock or a weight is put on top so that the lid will stay in place and not blow away. Beekeepers have to check on their bees every once in a while to make sure that they're doing okay and that they're healthy. Sometimes when they check on the bees, or every time they collect honey, they have to open the hive. Bees get upset when something disturbs their hive. It makes them want to sting because they want to protect their honey and their baby bees. So beekeepers use a hive smoker to blow smoke on the bees. The smoke does not hurt the bees. It tricks them. It makes them think that there's a fire, and so they eat tons of honey in case they have to move their hive. When they have full tummies, they are calmer and less likely to sting. Beekeepers use a hive tool and a broom when they open a hive. The hive tool is sort of like a cross between a dull knife and a pry bar. Bees sometimes put wax or a sticky goo called propolis around the boxes and frames to keep them secure. It can make it hard to move the hive parts. So the beekeeper uses the hive tool to pry the boxes and frames apart. They use the broom to gently sweep and tickle the bees away from the frame. Some bees are stubborn and don't want to leave their yummy honey. I used the infrared camera to film the beekeepers at the Topeka Zoo as they opened the hives, inspected their bees, and took frames of honey from the supers. The infrared camera paints a picture of temperatures for us, so it looks a little different from a regular video. Most of the time, dark colors mean cool temperatures and bright colors mean warm temperatures. Let's check it out. Here is one of the hives with all the bees flying nearby. Most infrared cameras have settings for what colors show in the image. The group of colors is called a palette. In this palette, the bees look yellow because they're nice and warm. The Topeka Zoo has 3 hives. They are behind the elephants on the other side of the sidewalk near some trees. They have shelter from the cold north wind, but are still close to different sources of water. If I change the video to something called high sensitivity mode, you can really see the bees moving around. Now the beekeepers will open the hives one at a time. First, they will puff some smoke onto the bees to help them stay calm. Next, they use the hive tool to pry open the top of the hive. A little more smoke is puffed into the hive. Then the first box can be gently pried loose and lifted away from the hive. Next, the frames will be removed from the box. Throughout all this work, the beekeepers are checking the bees to make sure they are healthy and strong. They are also checking for any pests. like hive beetles, ants, and the mean and nasty varroa mite. Because we're using infrared, we can tell where the bees like to hang out the most. Areas where they stay are warmer. You can even see which boxes have the most bees without opening the hives. One by one, the beekeepers lift the frames from the box. They take each frame over to the open part of the hive and gently sweep the bees away. The frames can then go into a container so that they can be taken back to the place where the honey is extracted or removed from the honeycomb. Once the beekeepers have all the frames they want, they close the hive by putting the cover and lid back on. They will do the same things to the other hives, and when all the frames are collected, they will be ready to take out the honey. This is what honeycomb looks like. Beekeepers use a warm knife or a rake to open the wax caps so they can get to the honey. This is what it looks like after the caps are open. Once the caps are all off, the frames are placed in an extractor. The extractor quickly spins the frames around. This makes the honey fly out and it slides down and collects at the bottom. A valve on the outside can be opened and the honey flows out. It usually goes into a container that has a screen in it so that any bits of wax can be removed from the honey. Here's what that looks like in real life. Once it has been strained, the honey can go into bottles and it's ready to eat. Here is my very own special bottle of honey. Thank you to Riley, Fawn, Rick, and all the other fantastic folks at the Topeka Zoo. I had a great day learning more about bees with you. And for the nice lady by the elephant, and all of you watching, you knew I couldn't resist checking out some more animal friends in infrared.